A little background, my husband's brother and his mom both canceled their weddings the day of. All right, guys, welcome back to another week of reading your wedding horror stories, although this one is gonna be a mix of wedding drama, little hiccups, ending to a very successful and beautiful wedding story. I think it's good to hear success stories, and I'm trying to trickle them in a little bit more because I don't want to cause any anxiety or stress in brides. They already have enough on their plate. So I asked you guys last week to share some more success stories or show how you have to kind of think on your feet, and things will go wrong, and that's okay. So think on your feet and it'll all work out in the end. And before I get started, I want to make a couple more announcements in case you missed last week's. It was the end of the Cher and Dion story, but I did compile it all and it's now on YouTube, so you can watch the full thing from beginning to end. It's just under an hour, so you can watch it all in one sitting if you want, or break it up, whatever works best for you. There might be a season 2, but I'm not making any promises, so don't hold me to it quite yet. Speaking of season 2 though, I am currently on season 2 of Ferris and Sloane, and gosh, it just starts off very dramatic. I just posted part 3 last night, so we are making our way through. I'm only promising 2 episodes per week right now though, just to kind of take the pressure off a little bit. I am posting other skits in between, but that's all I can commit to right now. Also helps my creative juices flow a little bit better. So here's a story I came across that starts off with some little hiccups, but there is some drama, so brace yourselves. Here we go. When my husband and I got married, we had several hiccups on the big day. The first was that my husband had missed a couple of small bags of groceries in the bed of the truck. I drove to my hairdresser with my maid of honor, which was in a strip mall type thing. We parked in front of the McDonald's and I grabbed some food quick because my maid of honor noticed I was nervous and hadn't eaten. We then went and got our hair done. I come out with my updo and tiara and go into the truck. The manager of the McDonald's came out and started screaming at me. Apparently the birds had found the groceries and made a mess in his lot. So there we stood, tiara and all, cleaning up trash in the parking lot. Oh no. Later we get to the church and finish getting ready and all that. We're standing behind the doors waiting to go down the aisle. I peek through the window and the pastor is there, but no husband or groomsmen as we had planned for the rehearsal. My sister-in-law starts joking, not mean, just silly, that my husband ran out back. My bridesmaids and dad are chuckling, and then I start to panic. My dad asks me what's wrong, and all I can get out is, "Dad, there's a history." A little background, my husband's brother and his mom both canceled their weddings the day of. Oh my gosh. Just as I'm about to sob, here come the men and my husband looking happier than I've ever seen him. We walk down the aisle. My husband links eyes with me and he chokes back tears. Oh, I love that. Next, during the ceremony, my husband brings up my 5-year-old daughter and gives her a ring that matches both of ours and promises to love and protect her always. Everyone was crying, and then the tension was broken when you hear a loud sniff from the cranky but sweet elderly lady in the 3rd row. Some laughs, and then we finish the ceremony. Finally, at the reception, the best man and his maid of honor have their toast. Well, we didn't know it, but they handed the mic around to my dad, his mom, his stepmom, and everyone was giving us toast. We were shocked and adored it. That shows that sometimes, if it's done in the right way, surprises can be really sweet. But you have to know your audience, and you have to know the bride and groom, and you have to understand that this cannot always work. You have to know what's kind of going on, what the schedule is. But so this is really sweet. Last part was that my husband had written a song for our first dance, and he and I secretly recorded it together. That is so sweet. Okay, I want to see a video of this. No one knew it was our voices and us playing until halfway through. We had also taken waltzing lessons for the dance. I love that. How unique and how special. The day wasn't perfect, but it was perfect for us. He passed away way too young a few years ago, but everyone that was at the wedding still remembers it. My daughter still wears the ring. Okay, I'm gonna cry. Though on a necklace now, and it still is the best day of my life. You guys, I did not read that before sharing it. Thank you for sharing that. I keep these all anonymously. I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I said her name, but for the sake of keeping everything anonymous, if she wants to comment, I will leave that up to her because I would love to hear more or see the video. This sounds so amazing and so touching. And I'm sure this is one of those moments where you are so glad that you did that surprise moment. You had your families do little speeches for you guys. Such a sweet and amazing wedding, it sounds like. So thank you so much for sharing. All right, now that one was a little bit shorter and a really sweet story, I'm gonna go ahead and find another one really quick. So my story is a bit of a wedding success and a bit of a wedding drama. The night before my wedding, we had a rehearsal dinner. I was getting ready at my parents' house with some of the bridesmaids. We live on a small farm in the country, but that farm happens to be on a county highway. I start hearing sounds out of my bedroom window where there should not be sounds. I look out the window and I see a whole herd of cattle heading towards the road. Oh my gosh. I yelled at my mom, I yelled at my bridesmaids, and I start running out of the house half dressed. Half of my makeup done, half of my hair done. I call everyone that I could think of. So my dad, my sisters, my neighbors, and everyone that was out in the fields harvesting for the year. I start moving the cows, and I got as many of the cows pushed to the fence as possible. The group finally shows up, and they are working on moving the rest of the cattle and bringing them up to the fence. I can just picture this all in my head right now. It's so funny. My dad arrives and comes over to me where I'm standing and keeping the current cows inside the fence. My dad hopped on the four-wheeler to go and bring the last few cattle. However, he hits the gas too hard and ends up tipping the four-wheeler on himself. Oh no, oh my gosh, talk about a disaster. I was the only one who saw, so I sprinted over, pulled the four-wheeler off of him. He was not responding to me. Oh my gosh, I did not see it going this way. He was not responding to me, and so I pulled the phone out to call 911, and he looks up at me and says, "Do not call anyone." I help him up off the ground, and as a typical farmer fashion, he gets up, heads out to the field. 10 minutes later, he comes up to the house and says, "I think I need to go to the emergency room." My mom called my aunts to see if they could take my dad to the emergency room so she could be with me at the rehearsal. This story is insane. I finished getting ready, and then I head to the church rehearsal. My dad went to the hospital with my aunts. My mom came to the rehearsal with me. We went through the rehearsal, and I remember feeling so stressed out and overwhelmed. Once we finished at the church, we then headed over to supper. My mom left us before supper to go be with my dad. I heard later that night from my parents on the status of my dad. They did let him out of the hospital that night so he could be with me for the wedding. The next day, my dad took a lot of pain medication to be able to get through that day. He got dressed up in a suit and tie. He walked me down the aisle, and he did the father-daughter dance. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how much pain he was in? But how amazing that he pushed through it just to be there for her. That's truly amazing. This was a wedding success and a bit of drama because as much as I know my dad was in pain, he did not want anything to go wrong on my wedding day. And I'm so incredibly thankful for him, and I know how special that day is for me. I love those stories because it just shows things can happen, hopefully not as crazy and painful as this last story, but things can happen, and sometimes you have to think on your feet, see how we can resolve this issue right now, and move forward with the day. Again, this is something I did not expect when I started reading this, and I've never heard of something like that happening. It starts off kind of comical with the cows and the whole family chasing the cows and trying to get them back in the house, but that ended very, very scary, and I'm very glad that he was able to push through and be there for his daughter. All right, guys, that's all I have for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll have another video for you next week. Bye, guys.